the New York Giants have been a hot mess for a good 5 years. I would call it a dumpster fire, but that might be a little too strong. So Hard Knocks is a pretty great franchise that HBO has had, and they used to just do the preseason, and then that kind of got stale, so they started to do like an in-season, and now they're doing an off-season Hard Knocks, and Hard Knocks is with the New York Giants. And you guys know the Giants were terrible last year, one of the worst teams in the league, and there is a sense that the head coach, Brian Daboll, who everybody likes, he's probably fine. But the GM, Joe Schoen, is definitely under some heat. And I know they're kind of a package deal being Buffalo guys, but Shane seems to be a little nervous for his job. And how do I know this? Because he's saying totally insane stuff in front of the cameras on Hard Knocks. There was a moment with about Brian Burns where he is like kind of almost like a goofy middle schooler going up to girls asking if they want to dance. And he's like, oh, how about a trade? What can I get Brian Burns off your hands for? Ha, ha. It's like, dude, stop hamming it up for the cameras. But he goes further, and it becomes about Saquon Barkley and then Daniel Jones. And, you know, we can't get the video for you, but I have the quote, and this is just mind-numbingly stupid, okay? Joe Schoen is defending Daniel Jones to his coaches and actually had the cojones to utter, the reality is facts, 3 serious injuries in 2 years. We need to protect ourselves. Jones didn't have much of a chance this year. That's legit. 4 guys, the core guys that were going to play together, played less than 60 snaps together. He's talking about the offensive line. Miami, we got effing 3 practice squad guys playing for us. Like nobody could, bad word, you could have a Patrick Mahomes and he couldn't win behind that. I'm not giving up on Daniel Jones. And listen, yes, there is some facts there. They had offensive line injuries. Whoop-de-damn-do. Who doesn't? Welcome to the NFL, Joe Schoen. Is this your first run? Like, everybody has offensive line injuries. You gonna cry about it? And that's the reason Daniel Jones isn't great? And Patrick Mahomes couldn't win behind him because Patrick Mahomes struggled without his tackles in the Super Bowl against a historically great Tampa pass rush? Like, this is embarrassing. I mean, I just want to remind people. I had to look this up. This is almost, you can't believe this stuff. So Daniel Jones has played in 60 games. He has 46 fumbles. 46 in 60 games. He's had one good, and I'm going to use air quotes, good season. That was 2 years ago when they went to the playoffs, beat the Vikings. They were 9-6-1. You know Daniel Jones threw 15 touchdown passes that season? That's his good season. Why can't you just admit that he's not the guy? It's because you gave him the big fat contract. You paid Daniel Jones instead of Saquon Barkley when everybody knew that that's a terrible mistake. And I'm just telling you, I will not forget anytime soon, Cowherd and I on this show talking about the market for Daniel Jones. And there was no market. The Giants were literally bidding against themselves. If Daniel Jones said, hey, I don't like what you guys are dealing me here, I'm going to go test the market. And the Giants said, go for it. Daniel Jones would not have sniffed the contract the Giants gave him. So they gave him $40 million. I remember instant acrimony in the locker room, all sorts of, Saquon Barkley's now unhappy. He's our best player. Oh, there's more. Here's what Joe Schoen said about Saquon Barkley. You know, they lost him, and now it's embarrassing because it's like he got stolen by your division rival, the Eagles, and the Eagles are like, oh, we're all giddy. We got Saquon Barkley. I read an article this week that someone actually compared the potential of Saquon Barkley joining the Eagles to what Christian McCaffrey did for the Niners offense. Yeah, that's how excited people are on Saquon. Now, that might be a bit of a stretch, but Saquon Barkley's really, really good. And here's what Joe Schoen said about Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. We have to upgrade the offensive line, and you're paying Jones $40 million, and it's not to hand the ball off to a $12 million back. My plan is to address the offensive line at some point in free agency. We're sitting at 6. There's a chance you get an offensive weapon there. This is the year for Daniel. So they got that weapon, the receiver from LSU, I believe Neighbors, and now you have no Saquon Barkley. There's no threat of a run game whatsoever. Defenses will line up. Go ahead, run against us. Good luck. Your offensive line stinks. You don't have a running back that scares us. Okay, good luck. Daniel Jones, I don't know how he's going to succeed. And that's when this gets really, really interesting. At what point do they, I don't know, bench Daniel Jones. Remember, they brought in Drew Lock, who was looking great. Anytime you hear backup looking great, it's like, ooh, putting pressure on Daniel Jones. I know they really badly want him to succeed. They're desperate. Would they fire Joe Schoen if this is a 5 or 6 or 7 win team, which I think it is? Vegas is not high on this team at all. They're definitely not first or second in the division. At best, they're third, and keep an eye on Washington. I just don't have any faith the Giants can turn this around. I'll just say this. The Giants are also struggling with the amount of good coverage, and just coverage in general, that the Jets are getting. We've seen sky-high expectations for the Jets. They're favored in more than, I think, something like 12 games, maybe 13. Jets are exciting, and I know Aaron Rodgers is catching some heat, but this is a Giants franchise. It's basically a blue blood in the NFL, right? I mean, I think they have 4 Super Bowls in my lifetime. The Jets have, 0. 0 appearances in the Super Bowl. And I've got a fun stat for you. I'm just going to throw this chum out in the water for Giants fans. I had the staff call up. Last 5 years, Jets versus Giants. This is the dregs of the league, folks. It's bad. It's bleak. At least we can say we didn't pay Zach Wilson. We drafted him, but we didn't pay him. You guys paid Daniel Jones. This year, obviously, the Jets climb out of this, but I don't think there's any hope on the horizon for the Giants. Now you got to, if you're the Giants, you almost want to be like a 3 or 4 win team so you can have your pick of the litter at quarterback, because they're going to need one. Daniel Jones ain't the guy. Sorry about your luck, Joe Schoen. Let's go to Alex Curry with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
I'm sorry, J-Mac. That stat board right there was just brutal.
It's tough times for New York. At least Aaron Judge is having a monster season.
Yeah,
and
you got some positives.
The Knicks.
Some positives. Yeah. Yes, there you go. Okay, well, let's start in the NBA, because Klay Thompson is done in Golden State after 13 seasons and 4 NBA titles. But the writing was on the wall all last season about his time there coming to an end. He was reportedly miserable in his final season, with everything from his declining role on the team to how contract negotiations went. He also reportedly felt disrespected after the team did not offer him a contract extension after their 2022 title run. Now, this is tough because you can understand both sides of this argument and how both are feeling. Like Klay's side, he gave so much to this team. 4 titles. He battled back from 2 major injuries, missing 2 full seasons with his ACL and his torn Achilles in 2020. But at the end of the day, this is a business. And the team is a business. And Klay wasn't putting up those same numbers of the Klay of the past before both of those major injuries. And they weren't willing to give him a thank you for what you did for us contract.
Alex, it's tough for me. A guy makes $43 million last season, and he's miserable.
Okay. Oh, I was like, I thought you were going to go the other way. You don't understand why they didn't give him more money.
Well, listen, it's a tough spot, and I just don't want to hear that you're miserable making $43 million. 90% of America will never see that. Maybe 95. I don't know. Let's settle down with it. It was not a fun year in the locker room. Say that. But he got benched, right? He got benched at one point. He was pouting on the sideline. Yeah, they weren't great. They did end on a 27-12 heater at the end of the season or something.
The thing is dynasties come to an end. And we just are slowly seeing, we slowly saw after their 2022 title, kind of the breakdown of the most recent dynasty that we have seen in the NBA. And this happens. And you move on, and it was hard, and I loved all the heartfelt stories of everything that he meant to the city and to this team. We shared Draymond Green sharing that they had a member berries where he called him, and they were just telling him, reminiscing on all the great times and great things that they did together. So you're always going to have that plus. Golden State announced that they can't wait to retire his jersey one day. So they're going to retire his jersey. He's probably going to have a statue outside. He helped create this dynasty. He's a huge part of that, and you can't take that away. But all good things have to come to an end sometimes, and it was just his time. If he wasn't happy, the team wasn't willing to give him what he wanted, this was the right thing that needed to happen.
Remember, Scottie Pippen had issues with the Bulls, and he had holes holding out.
Is anybody really happy towards the end of such a long run like that?
It was a great run. I get it. And he was unhappy that Wiggins got 4 years and Draymond got 4 years. But it just feels a little like they were a little disrespectful to him. I read an